There are three main characteristics that make up a good test, and intelligence tests are no different. The first requirement or standard is called standardization. Okay, IQ tests are standardized in that they have been administered to large pools of people, and we have norms on the tests. So when you take an intelligence test, we can compare your score to the rest of the population to see where you fall and how you compare to others. Now, tests like the SAT or the GRE, the Graduate School Entrance Exam, these are also standardized, normed tests where we have a lot of data on how many people perform on these tests, and we can compare an individual's performance to the rest of the population. Now, a second component of a good test is reliability. Intelligence tests should be reliable, which means that they should be consistent. Your score on an intelligence test today shouldn't be 100 points lower than how you score next week or in a year from now. We should be getting consistent, reliable measurements because we know intelligence doesn't change by 100 points. That's not how intelligence seems to work. So we should get consistent readings when we administer intelligence tests, from testing time 1 to testing time 2 and so forth. The test should be consistent and reliable. Now, the third criteria or standard for a good test is what's called validity. IQ tests should measure what they are intended to measure, right? Aspects of intelligence. A good test is going to measure what it claims to measure and should reflect questions and components that we believe are a part of intelligence. If I gave you if I told you for the psychology midterm to study a bunch of psychology concepts, and then you got the exam and it was asking you about chemistry, that wouldn't be a valid psychology test. It's not measuring what it's supposed to measure, which is your knowledge of psychology. IQ tests are no different. They should contain items that are valid indicators of what we think make up intelligence. One important form of validity that's especially important when looking at IQ tests is predictive validity. What do the tests predict? Okay, what does your IQ score predict? Now, we know from research that performance on IQ tests do predict many future behaviors. They produce success in college and graduate school. They predict success on the job market. They predict things like the amount of money earned. And they even predict things like health and longevity. Now, while IQ tests have strong predictive validity, we do know that they're not the full story behind somebody's success. So things like motivation, access to resources, whether they're financial, social, or emotional in nature, and certain personality characteristics also factor into one's success. So you should be familiar with the three criteria that lead to a good test: standardization, reliability, and validity.